Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wrestling fans around the world, welcome to Aussieverse, your home of pop culture, music, wrestling, and comics. We are here to discuss the Paris event that happened at 4 a.m. for us Australians here. Hence why this video is a bit late, and another reason why I am alone. It's going to be a quick one because I am just going to be ranting a little bit about this show. Christina, how you going? Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate it. We are sponsored by Comic Bookaroo, and we want to give a massive shout out to our 4-lifers. These are the ones that get the perks by spending just that little bit of money. If it's something that interests you, click the link. Otherwise, the best way to support Aussieverse is by subscribing to the channel and liking the videos. Okay, so we had Clash in Paris 2025. This pay-per-view has made me realize that I'm sort of losing it a little bit with WWE, and it's been a long, slow-ass burn for that, because just like the Marvel movies and Marvel in general, when people keep bitching to me about it, saying, "Oh, it's crap now. Oh, it's this." I do get their points. Because I'm not an idiot, I do get it, and I agree with some of them too. But because I'm such a fanboy and a die-hard comic fan and wrestling fan, I sort of just ignore them all and just hope that it's sort of, I'm in a bit of denial, I guess. But tonight, Clash in Paris really solidified the fact that there is a major difference between a good show, live show, where you go and you participate in the show and you get to watch it and be a part of the whole freaking big spectacle, and watching it at home. Also brings me to another point, which I think is the big fundamental problem with WWE, and that is that we at home are like, we don't like this, we don't like this, we don't like this, we need this to change, right? We're a collective unit, at least with some majority of stuff. But the problem is that they keep touring, and no matter how much you don't like the WWE or you don't like certain things about the WWE, you, me, your mum, your neighbor, anybody that actually goes to the event is going to have a freaking awesome time. Not only that, you're going to be excited and happy and be like, yeah, I'm here at the freaking WWE, and you're going to be pumped and you're going to be drinking and you're going to be singing Seth Rollins music and all this sorts of crap, right? Because you are out feeling that energy and you're a part of it. But that doesn't actually reflect the way the majority of the fans actually think and feel, in my opinion. Because I could hate who's someone I don't like, Sami Zayn, for example. I'm not a big fan of his, but I bet you if I go to the wrestling and Sami Zayn comes out, I'm going to be screaming like a little girl going, "Oh my God, Sami!" Right? That's what I mean by the reality versus what happens when you actually go. Now, the reason why I'm making such a point about this is because the crowd in Paris was absolutely electric. It was absolutely fantastic, and it really brought an amazing energy to the show. The problem is that when you're watching at home, and apart from the crowd and a few spots here and there, the overall show was very, very predictable. When you've been watching it for 30 plus years like I have, it's boring, and it was just a real freaking shame, man. But I bet you if I went there, I would have had a great time. Now, I'll tell you what I mean. So, for example, the first match, we had Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. Now, one of the points in wrestling is to create stars, and they're not doing that. In fact, they're ignoring the ones that we want to be stars, like Karrion Kross and other names that I could mention. Now, leading up to Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns, no one thought Bronson Reed was going to win, which is why he should have. Not only that, but Roman has nothing to gain over winning. Nothing. It wouldn't have mattered if he lost, really. It just would have made Bronson look stronger, which is what Bronson needed, and they didn't do that. They even had a fantastic moment where Roman does his spear and Bronson just doesn't even move. And that would have been, and he goes to pick him up from that. That would have been the perfect time for Bronson to get the 1, 2, 3. That would have made him look so freaking amazing. It would have made him look dangerous. And it also would have stopped this I'm second fiddle to Bron Breakker, which is very obviously happening as well. This move that Bronson has made to this level, which I'm sure he's grateful for, I'm afraid might actually be hurting his career because he's doing it with Bron Breakker. And obviously they love Bron Breakker. G'day, Claudia. Thank you very much. So, yes, this was Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. It was a very typical match. It was a very silly match because Bronson did the whole bad guy thing, which is, taking a while, being slow. It was the thing that you see 100 times over, which makes no sense. Because if Bronson was really in a fight with Roman Reigns, you bet your ass he'd be trying to beat the crap out of him as quickly as he could. And even if he couldn't do it quickly, he wouldn't lay off the guy. He wouldn't be sitting there going with the crowd and wasting time. And don't get me wrong, I get the psychology of wrestling because it's been done to death. But they need to change that shit up, man, because we've seen it so many goddamn times, and it is just, it's not helping anybody. All it's doing is putting another notch on Roman's belt. Don't forget to put the smackdown on the CBC Awards and vote. And remember, Aussieverse is a finalist. Thank you very much, Christina. She does raise a very good point. If you have not voted yet, go to the CBC Awards and vote for Aussieverse in their respective categories, as well as Christina in hers, as well as Mad Spidey, Simple Simon, still only 35 cents, and the list goes on. All right, the next match that we had was, let's see, what have I missed here? I've made some notes here. Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six. Now, the problem with this is that nobody really cares, Now, these are four very, very talented individuals. It was a good match. It was actually enjoyable. But the way that they're telling these stories is just, it's weak sauce, man. And there's no need to be invested in it, is my point. You have such untapped potential with the individuals in Street Profits, one a lot more. And then you've got those two from the Wyatt Six as well that were wrestling. All four of them really, really great wrestlers. And if they just shook it up and did something, made the Wyatt Six more, I don't know, give them a bit more depth to them, split the profits up, man. I'm telling you, they're just wasting their time. King, how you going? Thank you very much for joining. So yeah, that was two matches that I found. One was boring, and the next one was entertaining, but it wasn't enough, And it's nothing to do with the wrestlers; it's got to do with the build and the writing, which is just crap at WWE. Next up, we had Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella for the IC title, and I have to give it to Nikki Bella. I've got to admit, because she shat all over Trish Stratus at her comeback. Nikki Bella is a woman that lived in the Diva era, but, she was like one of the last ones before it became the Women's Championship. And not only that, but she broke her neck, or she did something really bad to her neck, and she basically retired for a long, long time. Now she's come back for one last run, and I've got to tell you, man, she's not like just phoning it in, at least in my opinion, from what I could see. So I've got to give it to her. Thanks, Christina. Because there was a few stuff ups, I admit, and you could see Becky whispering a couple of things to carry her through the match, but there was just no laziness with Nikki, and Becky did really well as well. So that's the first match that I actually enjoyed. Obviously, there's a lot of ring rust with Nikki Bella, and depending on how long she stays, I'm sure it will get better, because no doubt she's going to get the title at some point. Troy, thank you very much, brother, for joining. Next up, after that, we had Sheamus versus Rusev with the Donnybrook match. We always knew this was going to be a slobber knocker, as each time they wrestle, it is. And they gave each other a lot of violence in this one. They used the shillelagh, they used the kendo sticks, they used the chairs, they used a bar. They used a lot of things, man. And individually, I really like these two. I really, really do, man. the problem is that I think Rusev's gimmick from the start hasn't really worked, and I love Rusev, so I'm hoping they do something a little different with him. He needs a bit more depth to him as well, because I don't think he's really connecting with the audience on his return. And if he doesn't make this run successful, I really, really get a little worried for his future. Rusev Day will hopefully one day come back. Props to both women, indeed. Look, it was a good match. And I'm glad Rusev won because, like Bronson Reed, I think he needed that win more. So good on him for doing that. Next up, we had John Cena versus Logan Paul, and this was absolutely horrible. This was just horrible. I mean, I could talk about John Cena's waste of a slot going to Logan Paul. I could talk about the commentators just verbally bashing Logan Paul down our ears to make us love him and say how talented he is and how skillful he is. And all of that has been the case since Logan Paul started. And I've got to give the kid props, man. He does do well. The problem with Logan Paul is that he's a victim of circumstance. It doesn't matter how good Logan Paul can be or is. The problem is what Logan Paul represents. And the problem is that he didn't come from no indies. He didn't serve his 10 years around the block before making it to WWE. And yeah, I know, fair enough. Celebrity, that's what TKO care about, and WWE, especially probably Triple H. But the fact that they're putting him in a match with John Cena, kicking out of more than 2 FUs or whatever he calls them these days, attitude adjustments, it's just, I just don't get it, man. And I don't hate Logan Paul. I respect him a lot. I'm not blaming him for the issues in WWE. I'm blaming the writing and whoever's making these decisions in WWE. I mean, the guy had the United States title, and I think he defended it like twice. And to this day, they're still saying he's one of the longest reigning United States champions. And that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, but the thing that I hated about this match, which just made me want to go, oh my God, like this is where, like, for years, people bitch about John Cena. I have always been a John Cena fanboy because I remember watching his very first match, and it's like seeing one of your own kids grow up, man. So regardless of his lack of wrestling moves, I've always been a John Cena fan. Tonight, however, man, the amount of talking I saw John Cena do to Logan Paul in the match. I have heard people bitch about this in the past before, say John Cena doesn't care and, kayfabe, it doesn't exist and all this sorts of stuff. But there is a big difference between making something look real, acting on stage, and the art of not letting the crowd see that. And John Cena's completely lost that. And that, to me, is like a big fundamental, I mean, I said before, you could see Becky Lynch say a couple of things to Bella, but, mistakes happen. It is live TV. You're going to see some things. But John Cena, I swear, especially in the last half of the match, was just talking to Logan the whole time. And it's how are you meant to ignore that? Now, it escapes the reality because the thing is that my version of what is real and what is not real in the WWE might not be the same as yours because we suspend belief in this addiction, passion, sport, entertainment that we have. That's why people can get beaten up in the street and the cops don't get called. That's why people can have a conversation that's meant to be private, but yet it's on camera and the whole world has seen it. We suspend disbelief. But when you break that disbelief that we're already fragilely holding, it's just bad. It's just bad. And anybody that does that a lot shouldn't be wrestling. That's my opinion. King, I'm not sure. Sorry, I missed some comments, man. I'm not sure what the diabolical one's for, but I hope I haven't offended you. Comics Curing Cancer is coming up, Christina. That is absolutely correct. This is an annual event that happens across multiple YouTube channels where everybody get together and they buy and sell donated goods to people, just like auctions, and every single cent gets donated to the American Cancer Association. They've raised $50,000 before, and you bet your ass Aussieverse will be participating in that, which I think is in October. They need to bring back the finisher, like the actual finisher, not 17 tombstones and then a Hell's Gate and then one more tombstone, which brings me to a point as well, man, because you're right. Like, an attitude adjustment used to be able to KO anybody. Now Logan Paul's kicking out of 3 of them. Are we just meant to say, oh, it's because John Cena's not as strong as he used to be, so he's not delivering them as much as hard as he used to be? I don't know. But, yep, too much talking too. Now, I love wrestling. I will always love wrestling, just like I will always love comics. And no matter how bad Spider-Man is at the moment and for the last 10 years, and no matter how bad or not very real some things are in the WWE, I will always back wrestling. But it's very, very hard these days when you have shows that are spitting in your face, proving that it's scripted, proving, we all know it is. We don't want the proof. Then you come into my hometown with 2 days' notice, by the way, because WWE is coming to Perth for another show next month, I think it is, or is it October? No, I think it's next month. And that's on the other side of Australia. So we got told last week, in 2 days, tickets are on sales for WWE Melbourne, which would be, I'm guessing, an untelevised show. And you have to come up with a minimum $500 because it's you and your partner or you and a friend. My rant is that the layman, the people that actually watch the wrestling, don't have the amount of money that you need within 2 days to go see a live event. And that's absolutely freaking disgusting. Why should fans that spend hours dedicated to your product, talk about your product, have a passion for it, not be able to afford to go? That's pretty crap, man. That's pretty crap, man. You check out how much tickets are going for in the States as well now, and there's something very, very wrong. Very, very wrong with WWE at the moment. And let's hope it's only for now. So this was Clash in Paris. I did not like it. I even fast-forwarded the main event, which was Seth Rollins, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and CM Punk. I fast-forwarded to the end, saw what happened with Becky Lynch. Not surprised. WWE need to up their game. If they don't, then I'm just going to be fast-forwarding a lot of crap. And the sad truth is that they wouldn't even care. They wouldn't even care. Just like Marvel wouldn't care if I stopped buying Spider-Man. Anyway, this has been Aussieverse. Thank you for listening and hearing me out. I'll see you next month for a new pay-per-view. I think it's WrestlePalooza or some dumbass name like that. We'll catch you next time. Aussieverse is and always will be for life.